Allie, how are you?
Good, how are
So, Chicago Title, we were having meetings at Stewart and Fidelity, and Jill's like, what the hell, right? So, Jill asks for a meeting, and my mom would say I'm getting too big for my britches, and I'm like, no, not meeting them. And then about 40 days after that, they're like, okay, we're pulling funding. And I go, oh, we're meeting. So as our providers, they get access to market to you guys. Otherwise, we're a closed facility. So I'm sharing a little bit of dirty laundry. So therefore, Joe goes, and not only are you meeting with me, but we want, obviously, the same access that Stewart Title gets as we go across the street, Sam, that you always go with Max. And then Fidelity wants it at their office at Hayden. And then here now we have the third location with Chicago. So welcome to my world. So we'll be on every third rotation. So the good news for you guys is you get into a different environment. We stay out of our comfort zones. The only common denominator is change, right? Right? The only
constant.
The only constant is change, right? All right. So today we're going to talk about circle prospecting, and then we're going to talk about market evaluations. So let me regress one more time. Do you guys have anything to add?
Well, so we may just add kind of as you're going.
Yeah,
depending on
great.
where you're going with it,
I'd
because we've
like
got
that.
some ideas to kind of plug in to help you guys with circle prospecting and getting phone numbers and email addresses and really kind of hyper
So
targeting.
you can provide that service?
Yes, and
Okay.
like I said, depending on kind of what you're covering today, we'll kind of plug in with.
All right. So since last week we spent, can't even remember the subject, it was digital marketing, right? So we spent a lot of time on digital marketing. Amanda, I'll circle back to you because Amanda's here today because she's got a recurring cause issue that we're going to start talking about. It's a fascinating subject and how to go through the protocol of a recurring cause. She showed a house to a buyer. There was about 20 houses. And then come to find out, she finds out that their buyer bought directly through the listing agent. Right? So we're gonna talk about that also, and we'll do an actual case study of real life information versus make believe, right? So one of the things that you get in our classes that we offer is real engagement, real life situations, and none of this make believe stuff of a trainer that's not in the field or is not as engaged as we are here at Remax My Property, so you guys can get some stuff there. All right, circle prospecting. So the way that I like to do circle prospecting is it starts with the listing, right? So here's a new listing that I have on Mark Lane, okay? If you don't have a listing, just pick any listing because my group is supposed to call these leads, but they don't, right? We know, generally speaking, we know what to do, but we don't do it, right? So Darren Hardy has a great thing about, we're great at giving advice, right? If somebody came to you and said, hey, Scott, what should I be doing for lead generation, right? You'd be able to, right? You would, right? But yet, we don't listen to ourselves in that. We're great at giving advice. So one of the things that Darren Hardy says is listen to yourself for advice, right? So we know circle prospecting works, right? So what I will do is look, does anybody have access to tax records? This guy's name is Ed, right? Nobody? Okay. Let me just look.
Well, I'm in tax records right now.
Yeah, look up 6838 East Mark Lane. And the only reason why I need to know is I got to confirm his last name. I know his first name is Ed.
Siemer, S-I-E-M-E-R.
Okay, Ed Siemer.
Siemer.
Yep, Ed. Say it again.
S-I-E-M-E-R. The sir.
I-E-M-E-R. Okay, so here's what happens. So Ed Siemer, I have his house listed. So I call the neighbors around them and I ask, hey, Ed put his house on the market. We're asking $995,000. It's $290 a square foot. Would you like an evaluation on your home? That's number one. So I do have handouts. You guys should have that script right there, right on the top, right? Now, I just banged that out today. As you develop your script, it might turn out a little bit different, right? Then I go right into, hey, since I priced Ed's home, would you like an evaluation on your home? right? No. All right? Any other neighbors like Ed that are thinking about moving that you know about? Oh yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Evans might, you know, the house across from me, they want 15 horses and the CCNRs only allow 5, right? Because this is out in the county, right? So this is some horse property, right? And then number 3, any other real estate interest you own that you might need some help on, right? So, and then choose your neighbor. So there's actually 4. I might have not gone in the right order, but you'll see as I get on a live phone call that I try to discuss all 4 of these. You guys have seen this. Who's seen circle prospecting before? Okay, all right. There's another way you can go about it. Number 2, if you don't want to make these calls, you could do a slide dial. Everybody familiar with that? All right. You're doing that on your own from a liability standpoint, all right? But that would go like this. Have you ever gotten a phone call and your phone never rang?
Yes.
Okay, that's a slide dial. So it's very generic. So instead of them saying Jay, they would just say, hey, sorry I missed your phone call, or Ed's house is on the market, $290 a square foot. If you know somebody that might be moving into the neighborhood, you got a great chance to choose your neighbor, sister, brother, uncle, cousin, maybe your mom. The house is available at $995,000. You probably have seen my sign up. Let me know if there's any interest. Just leave it at that. That's a slide dial. Third, you can do a direct mail piece, but keep in mind that direct mail is only a 1 to 3% return, very light. But we are getting traction on direct mail for listing leads. When you say, hey, I have a buyer that we just missed this house on Mark Lane and they're looking for another one in your area, would you be interested, right? So you can hit them in this direct mail piece from a different angle. Now, if you really do have a buyer in that area and you send a direct mail piece, that's another form of circle prospecting. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways that you can help create that inventory. Any questions yet? All right, so now we're just going to get right into a dial. So what I'm looking for is conversations. So this first one's on 68th Street. It's Thomas and Diane Ebert. They're going to be really pumped up about this price that I'm asking. It's funny how quickly text messages. You guys ever gone out of a meeting and have like 10, 15 text messages? Yeah, it's crazy. Or you get on that stream and everybody's responding, oh, I'm not golfing. Yeah, I am golfing. I'm bringing this dish. And it's like, really? Okay.
How do you get off those streams?
I know.
You can't.
Just say,
You cannot. Really?
You can
block everyone's number.
Right?
Yeah.
okay, so the first thing you want to know, and when they answer the phone, you want to hit them with what? Their name. Their name. So if you notice, when you get a telemarketing call, there's a little bit of a gap, and they always say Mr. Harvey,
That's
Mr.
the
Rouse.
dialer kicking in.
What's that?
That gap is the dialer
Yeah.
kicking in.
Yeah. So when they pick up, I'm going to right away hit Thomas or Diane. So you got to be ready for that, because the most important name to anybody is their name, right? So I'm going to shock them a little bit, because what are they going to first think? Oh, this guy knows me, right? Okay. So you want to be ready for that. Oh, and by the way, your voicemail still says Monday.
You're happy about that, aren't you?
I think it's kind of funny. Scott and I have this business thing going on where we change our. Hey, Diane, Dell Rounds, Remax Fine Properties. Hey, did you see that I have Ed Seymour's sign home up for sale there on Mark Lane?
I think you have the wrong number.
Oh.
Rochelle, not Diane.
Oh, I'm sorry, Diane. Thanks,
Okay, thank you.
Rochelle. Okay, that went well. So that's the other fun part, right? So remember, one of the things that I teach is to get everybody out of their comfort zone. right? So it's okay to fail because nobody's keeping score for you guys. It's not like I'm a baseball coach where I'm like, oh, that's one for Amanda,
You don't have to write any checks when you fail.
right? Oh, that's one for Jay. Right? The only one keeping score is in your own head. So get out of it, right? Nobody cares how much you fail. The only thing they want to know is, man, is Scott successful, right? So you want to get out of that whole mindset because you're going to fail a lot. If you're doing hardcore lead generation, you're going to fail a lot, and it's okay.
I have,
So,
I have
yeah.
a real world scenario for you.
Okay?
This
Well,
is-
where you're asking, I'm dialing, so go
No,
ahead.
go ahead, do that.
No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
I had an open house
Yep.
where the relationship went great.
Okay.
And I asked them to leave their information. The daughter said, I'll go fill it out. Go ahead and show them the casita. Had it, as they said, great. Walked them all the way to the car. Yes, we need to sell our house, blah, blah, blah.
Ooh.
Went back. There's no information.
Oh, bummer.
So I called.
Okay, now you know when you walk out to your car, you never quit trying to get information.
Oh.
So grab your business card, ask them for theirs. Okay, keep going.
I gave him the business card, and he said, I don't have any right now. Okay, that's okay. So it was in Desert Mountain.
Yep.
I called Davis. and-
Davis Driver.
Yeah, you need to answer that first.
Nope.
Oh, good one.
When was the last time you heard of fax?
That's a long time.
Okay, go ahead.
So I called Davis, and he goes, because I didn't have the names, I had the first and last name and all the husband and wife and all that.
Yep.
He goes, I sold him that house. I said, can you give me some information? So he got phone number, address, and email.
Wow, and he gave it to you?
Yes, but.
Wow, what a champ.
But they were all out of date. They weren't.
Oh, bummer.
So-
Okay, but if you know the address.
Well, I was just gonna say,
Okay.
I got the address, so I
Right.
sent him a thank you for stopping by, blah, blah, blah. How do you get those phone numbers? Can you get me that?
Yep, write down this name, Robert Dirks. I've given this to you guys before, so we'll write it down.
No, I know Bob.
Okay, so give Bob the tax records and ask him for the name, phone number, and email address.
Who is he with?
So he's with us.
I see.
Now, you can also call Jill. So if you want the least expensive way, you can call Jill and say, Jill, please forward me name, number, and email address. So this list right here came from a preferred vendor that I'm calling off right now. So they're here to help you guys move the ball.
A lot of it's data mining, so like he's getting wrong numbers, it's just what's attached to the property could just not be correct, because
Yeah.
that's just part of, you know. the-
Right. So what we use is LexisNexis, and it's very expensive, but pretty precise. In fact, when you get a hold of somebody from LexisNexis, a lot of times, they're not even wondering about you, they're wondering how the fuck you got their number. Okay? When you guys make calls like this, you're on your own on DNC and all that other kind of stuff. So you just gotta decide, because remember, I don't only teach that, I would say to you, drive back up there. Now, you're door knocking in a guard gated community
Right.
to where you could get sanctioned.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's just the way it is.
Yeah, you're-
How much risk do you want to take for the return? And everybody's comfort level there is different.
I did ask Davis about that. He said, send them the card, do not go to, don't knock on their door.
Yeah, okay. And I would be talking to Davis right now about that, you gave him that information.
Oh, yeah.
And talk to him about working it with you.
We had that conversation.
Okay, good. Because Davis is gonna run into them probably at the clubhouse before you would see them, so who knows, right?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so there's one more number here. So Diane and Thomas, so we got the wrong number, and then we got a fax machine, right? 602-402-5486. Good job on that. Now remember also, when you're going, remember, how you doing?
I was checking out, make sure you're right.
All right, I thought you're our guest speaker, aren't you?
Oh, hey, whatever, I can speak. I like to
All
talk.
right, all right, so, lost my train of thought. Where was I going?
Davis,
No,
door knocking.
no.
We've had a good phone call, or a,
Oh, when you're walking out to the car, it's as simple as doing this. Tammy, what was your cell number again?
Yeah, but see, I said, did you get a chance to fill it? Oh, yeah,
No,
Madison.
I understand all that. And even if they say yes,
Yeah,
right?
it's my
You can
bad, I
still- You can
should've.
still say, Sissy, what's your cell number again?
602-679-26.
Right. And your email address.
Oh, I'm not giving
So it can't be, you never ask. Can I use the restroom?
No.
No. I'm gonna use the restroom, I'll be right back. Right? Big difference.
Oh, yeah.
It's this, so you guys have to assume success. And then you have to do the job before you get it, right? So I'm big on all that kind of stuff, right? So, information to where I don't care if you get his email address, her cell number, his cell number, daughter's email address. You keep asking information until you extract everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So no big deal. You're going to learn from that, right? And then be better. And the only way you get better is failure.
If you don't fail, you're not trying.
If you're not failing, you're not trying. Yep, I agree. All right, here's Diane. Now, I also have an email address for her. So let's see if Diane picks up this number. Third time. Diane or Thomas? He probably goes by Tom, but it's hard to just go directly to that. Because he knows when I call him Thomas that I don't know him.
Right.
What do you think? Should I go Tom?
Yeah.
Tom. Tom it is. A lot of times you get a voicemail. I always leave a voicemail. Circle prospecting is big.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Frank?
Is not available.
Did you say Frank?
The mailbox is full and cannot
Oh,
accept any messages.
kind of the double deal. All right, I'm moving right along here. Now I'm going to Andrew and Mary Shirley. Oh, and these are out-of-state numbers. I love those. Any questions around circle prospecting? So the other nice thing about these versus expireds and canceleds is they inquiry minds want to know.
If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
Jill, look up. Can you look up some of these on your database?
I can't.
No?
I gotta send it to somebody. I don't have the.
Okay, no worries.
Well, Alec, do you have? We can try. Want to try it?
Yeah. Okay. So look up. See if you can get anything on 28231 North 68th Street. That's Thomas and Diane Eber.
Hello.
Hey, good morning, Mary. Dell Rounds, Remax Fine Properties in reference to Ed Schemer's house right down the street from you on Mark Lane. Have you seen the sign up?
I haven't.
Oh, all right. So you're at 68th Street, so it's got to be, I'm trying to think, just a little west of you on an acre.
Okay.
Anyway, I was calling to see if you knew anybody that you would like to be your neighbor for Ed's house.
I don't know anybody that wants to live out in the boonies with us.
All right. Well, you're not really out in the boonies. You know, Dynamite, right there. You know, it's actually considered kind of close in now.
Yeah, well, moving from 40th Street to Camelback it is.
Oh yeah, you were kind of in the hub there.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
No, I don't know anybody, but which house did you say it is?
So it's 6830 East Mark Lane. What's your email address? I'll email it to you.
It's MK Shirley, SHIRLEY, the number 4@gmail.com.
All right, I'll email it to you. All right, and we're asking $290 a square foot. So it's 3,422 square feet, and we're asking $995.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, do you and Andrew want to get back to maybe the Camelback corridor? I can put a value on your home.
No, we love where we are.
Okay. Do you have horses or?
We're fixing up the backyard. We love it.
Okay, excellent. All right. Any other neighbors like Ed? So Ed works for Southwest Airlines, so he's getting relocated to Florida.
Oh,
Yeah. Any more neighbors that might be moving that you're aware of?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Any other real estate interests that you and Andrew own that you might need a value on, like any land in Buckeye or anything?
No, not right now.
No? Okay. All right, well, I'll email you the flyer in case you come up with somebody, but I know that area really well. I've been selling it for 25 years. My name is Del Rounds, R-O-U-N-D-S.
Okay.
All right. Is your last agent, is the last agent that sold you the house keeping in touch with you?
Oh, yeah, he's our friend.
Oh, okay. Good. What company was he with? Or
He was with the brokery, and now he's with somebody else.
Okay. All right. Well, Mary, have a wonderful Thursday. It was very kind of you to take my call.
Yeah, you have a great day.
All right, you too. All right, bye. Okay, well, you'll run into a lot of these, believe it or not, because they want to know. You're not asking them for anything. Now, you know, when it comes to lead generation, you know, you got to kind of be a little bit of a, I don't know, creeper, whatever, right? A social animal. You know, I thought there was a little bit of an opening when she said out in the boondocks that maybe, you know, maybe there might be something there. But did you see I got through all 4? That only happens about 20% of the time as you're making calls like this. It doesn't happen, you know, I just happen to run into a nice lady. But they do want to know, when you let them know, hey, great time to choose your neighbor, I'm not calling to ask for anything, I'm letting you know about a home that's in your neighborhood. It's a little bit different. Now, the second part of this is, I can circle back to Mary when I sell it and introduce her to the new neighbors and have a whole nother conversation around that, right? I have, let me see what this is. Yeah, it is a CLA. Okay. This technique has made me up to $180,000. Do you know where Scottsdale Road and Redbird is? Montera. You go into Montera Way, and you'll see a house in the corner, Vita, that I sold, that led me to the dentist across the street. And these were all big. These were like 1.5, 1.2. That led me 4 doors down to the Evans. That was like another $850. That led me down south to Jim and Joy Martin, and then across the street to another guy that I left a voicemail on, and you add all those up. Now, it took me about a year and a half, but a shitload of money. Because you're planting seeds, you're probably not going to get a hit right out of the gate. So, yeah, look, my wife got transferred yesterday, right? But you're planting seeds. The guy that I left a voicemail to called me almost 8 months later. 8 months later. And no indication at all. I just left a voicemail. I don't think I got to beat a dead horse. Would you guys like to hear another call, or do you think you got it? Because you heard me get through all 4 questions. Have the script in front of you. Notice when I was talking to her, I knelt down because I wanted to get a little bit closer to the speaker, but I would never do that in a real live conversation. Why?
That's weird.
Very good.
I didn't hear his comment, Bill.
Because your diaphragm is closed and you're more monotoned if you're not engaged. So you want to free up your hands. You want to work the conversation to where you know they're attracted to your voice. So you want to use fluctuation. Well, why'd you do that? You know, or that kind of stuff. You want to karate chop. You want to move the conversation. Now, if there was any entry point, the first thing I would have asked is, can I come by tomorrow between 4 and 5? Right? You always want to move to a call to action if there's engagement. The bottom line is you need to get in front of the people, not just make the call. So just don't check the boxes. Your goal is an interview that will lead to a presentation that will lead to money. Right? Those are the 3 the things that you want to drive to. Any questions around circle prospecting? So remember, you don't only have to make the calls, right? You can do direct, you can email, you can door knock. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can text everybody on here. Like, one of the things, she gave me her email address, so I'm good with that. But now I can text her. I'm pretty sure that was a cell number because it's 901. Now I can even text her and engage, right? On a scale of 0 to 10, there's no lead there. Would you guys agree? The other agents keeping in touch, even though she says it's in the boondocks. She doesn't own any other real estate products. It's a dead deal, right? You can throw her now. Let's talk about CRMs. Who has a CRM? Okay, I could throw her in the CRM and sprinkle little seeds on little, water every once in a while. Drips. I don't think so. I'm going to toss that one. If I was new, I would probably throw her into a CRM and work it. My definition of a lead is somebody that needs to buy and sell in the next 2 weeks. I'm not really interested in even 60 days. I mean, I would still engage with them, but I'm more today. I want to know what's going to make me money today. Yep. Everybody's, yes.
So let's say you're new, so you don't really have those listings.
Yeah.
If you pick a listing from anybody that just was listed and just say, hey, there's a listing that just came up around your house, do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter, I mean, you can just, if it's yours or.
Doesn't matter, Jules, because nobody's doing this. I've been teaching it for 2 years and nobody circled back to me and said, man, I just got a great deal off circle prospecting. Yes.
To her comment, so I could see in her situation, she would say, our brokerage just listed.
Sure.
That's it.
That's it.
Even if it wasn't our brokerage.
Well,
It
there's
was
enough
just-
out
Yeah.
there that,
You guys have 300 and something listings.
there's enough
Yeah.
out there that keep you
That are
busy.
listed in your find product.
Right, so I could do.
That's low. We usually average about 500.
Well, that's where the market is right now.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm concerned about is, remember, the majority of our income is variable, meaning we got to count on transactions happening. I don't think we as a firm, even though we have the highest agent count ever, that we're going to hit 3,515 transactions that we did last year. You know, one of the fascinating things out there right now, and this will make sense once I say it. Everybody outside thinks we're going to have a killer year. I'm not so sure. Because really for 10 homes, you want to have about 12 or 13 buyers. But right now for 10 homes, we have 30 buyers. Right? It's lopsided. We want that to kind of even out. Because we want, yes, price is important to us, interest rates are important to us, the global economy, the coronavirus, the election, all that kind of stuff plays a role. But really, we just need transactions and money to keep moving. And right now, with the lack of inventory, it's going to be, I think, a brutal year. It'll be interesting for us because March is when Flagstaff really kicks in. The second home market up in Flagstaff. I'm hoping Flagstaff is going to have a killer year. Otherwise, it's going to kind of be even for us. Meaning we're not seeing good stuff out there for brokerage firms. Individuals that have a good base can do extremely well. New people, even harder now. Even harder now. So I know you guys don't get many breaks being new, but you just gotta just keep grinding it out. It'll pay.
It might, to that point, it might be a little bit of an easier benefit if you have a team or something to work on as an in-person right now.
Yeah, so here's a money here's a money idea. Call the 10 top producers at RE/MAX Fine Properties every Saturday and Sunday morning consistently and say, hey, Jane Doe, it's Sissy, it's 9 a.m., my car's clean, the gas tank is full, and I'm at the office. If you have anything you can't handle today, call me and I'm going to give you a 35% referral fee. For all I care, 50%, right? Because you want to learn, you want to experiment and make money, right? So, hey Del, it's Jules. I want to let you know it's Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and I'm at the office, my car is clean, my gas tank is full, and I'm available. If you need anything, call me. Because I can tell you this, our company is large enough and we have enough top producers to where there's a lot of things that slip through the cracks. And I mean a lot. Right? So call the 10 top agents. Now, you need to do that consistently for 6 months. And then guess what? Then they know every Saturday and Sunday that Scott's at the office at 9 a.m. with his car clean and the gas tank is full and he's available for you. It's a great lead generation idea, but you know, it'll take time, right? It'll take time for that to kick into
How about
that
those
top producer.
300 listings? How many of those are available for open house?
I don't know. But do you have a problem sitting in an open house?
Hell no.
Okay, good. So that's one of the things too. I get calls all the time from other agents at wherever that, you know, can I sit your open house? No. No, you cannot. A, the brokers have a problem with it. B, why would I let somebody out from an external firm sit in one of our open houses? No, ain't gonna happen, right? They're for us. But I'm shocked at that number. Jill, I didn't know we were down to 300. I mean, you know.
Well, I only know that because we've got a new program that we're rolling out, and I've sat with a few of the teams pulling it together, and it pulls in all of your company's listings. So
Right.
it's like this week.
Because
we got
see, that tells me that's only an average of 1 listing per agent. And I got 31. That's not good.
Yeah, I think
Because now, I'm not about doom and gloom, because there are new home sales out there. You know, my team, Sissy, you know this, my team has the availability to sit at DR Horton Home, that's a spec home, even with the new home sales agent sitting there 3 blocks away. And we don't even do that.
Your team doesn't do that.
My team doesn't do that.
But it's
Do we
only-
do that?
No, but we should.
But it's only your team.
So when you go from getting your ass out of a seat to motivation, now you're talking Tommy Hopkins and motivation. So there you got to just look in the mirror. But did you know we had the chance of doing that? It's a phenomenal deal. Paradise Ridge, right down the street here, they got 5 specs at 68th Street in Mayo. 5 specs. You can put up a RE/MAX sign up. They can come to you, right, before the new home center. You can say, have you visited the new home center? No? Okay, great. Let me run over there and register you. Take them in your car, run over there and register them, and then show them all the new homes as well as the specs and get paid. Yeah, and we don't even do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to Corrine or somebody in my office if you guys are interested in that, or Sissy if you want to join up with somebody, or Max, you want to join up with somebody in the room to do that. I got to kind of keep it a little bit within my team because they get mad.
Even though they're not doing it. You're accepting, you're giving away stuff they're not doing. Oh,
It's a green thing. I can't describe it.
maybe they'll start doing it if we all start doing it. Then you team it.
Yep. Can't go there. All right. So, did anybody come? Amanda, you came here for a specific reason. So I'm going to go to this last thing here. Okay. Amanda, you showed a house. You showed 22 houses to a buyer.
Yeah, I spent 2 days with a husband, wife, and their 2 children throwing Cheetos and Oreos around the back seat.
Wait, how many days?
2 straight days.
And you introduced them to a lender, right?
22 homes.
Jackie with CNN closed the loan for them. They were lunatics.
So here's my question with Jackie. Is Jackie in the room?
No.
No.
When Jackie got that contract, why didn't she call you?
She called me when they closed and she sent me the address, and then she doubled back and said, I wish I would have told you when I got it. It was a short sale.
Because you
so they
put,
lived back
now I'm
and
not throwing
forth.
anybody under the bus, but you put Jackie in the deal, right?
That's exactly right, yeah.
Okay, in the deal. So that's good, because that adds chips in your favor for this recurring cause. Now, they went dark on you for how many days?
So she called me a couple days later and said something like, we're just gonna look around, whatever. And I said, okay. And
So
honestly, it was a relief.
She got what we call cool on you, right? She said, we're gonna take a break.
Right.
Okay?
So then Jackie called me earlier this week and said, they closed, and I said, cool. And then she sent me the address, and I saw that it was one that I opened a lockbox for and showed them in Buckeye, which was never an intended spot for us to even be. We were like in Glendale.
Yep.
I drove them all the way to Buckeye. I spoke to the guy, the listing agent, a couple times that day about the house.
Yep.
And then it turns out apparently later, so this was I think Monday and Tuesday I showed them homes. The following Friday, they wrote a contract with the listing agent.
How long ago was that?
Yeah, how many days from the day
So
you hit the
January-
lockbox to the day they,
January 7th was the day I opened the house.
Okay.
January 18th was the day that they wrote with the
yeah, see, I think you're gonna have a really good case. You have phone records, right? So you need to look at your phone records that you had dialogue with the listing agent
I
after you
have
showed
it,
it?
yeah.
You got the lockbox report?
So the lockbox was not registered to that house, but I called E-Key and it's registered to that agent. So it's,
Okay, so
but
you
he
have,
couldn't send me a report, but he verbally said, yes, this is so-and-so's lockbox.
good, all right. And then, do you have the original listing agreement the day you printed it? Do you have the original list?
So, no.
Do you have this?
I have what I printed, but it's closed now. I don't have it from the day of.
You don't have it from the day of. So what we're talking about now is that Amanda's gonna file a claim and she's gonna go after procuring cause, right? She showed the house, she introduced them to a lender, right? She has a lockbox report, she's got phone records. I don't think 11 days is enough that you would call, the consumer might say, well, she abandoned me. That's not the case at all, right? This is gonna be a good case. I think you have a good one, so start gathering your records, and then what happens is Sandy files a grievance against the brokerage, right? The broker, of 3% of the sales price. How expensive was the house?
It was a short sale in Buckeye, so it was $237.
Okay, but was the co-broke 3%?
It was
Okay, you're still talking,
$7 grand.
yeah, $7,000, it's a lot,
But
right?
here's my concern with it, that, and I'm just being nice about it, the guy who wrote the contract had no idea that I existed before, because these people were very,
Buyers
they
are liars.
lied. Jackie told me things that they had said about, like, just different things have come and circled back. So I'm convinced that the guy who wrote it had zero idea that somebody
Probably not.
existed.
But,
So does
but
that
there
feel a
there
little
are,
unfair?
not at all.
Okay,
It doesn't, just because the consumer lied doesn't mean you
Right.
shouldn't get paid.
okay.
You introduced them to the house,
Mm.
right? If you
It's
had a
just
buyer,
if I were in that
if you
shoes,
had
that
a
would
buyer
be-
broker employment agreement, right? You could go after them for the full amount, right?
Right.
And I wouldn't, so one of the things Amanda said to me is that she's willing to settle, just for something.
Yeah, just pay me for my 2 days. I was
They
like,
usually do too. 'Cause
give
of
me
my
$1,000 or something. I
Oh.
don't care.
Good input, I forgot about that, Tammy.
Yeah, I am professional.
And now I
What do
spoke
you think, all right, so you've heard a brief Reader's Digest version, what are her chances?
The broker's gonna cut a deal with you. 'Cause
Okay.
He doesn't wanna pay for the attorney to show
Well,
up to
and
take
I
the test.
asked Sandy, so I called Sandy before this and he was like, I don't know, call the agent and see if he'll give you some money. And so I called, but I didn't
Yep.
get a hold of him. Then I called you and you were like, don't talk to him.
No.
So I didn't. I
Yeah,
avoided his
Tammy,
phone call.
would you talk to the agent? I mean,
No,
no, I wouldn't
Okay.
either.
because the agent, truly, we don't exist, it's the broker.
Yeah.
So you have
Okay.
to remember that the professionalism is between the brokers.
Okay.
Yeah, now here's what's interesting. If, this is where it gets interesting with the board and brokers, right? Let's say you win, you get the full amount, $6,900, $6,900, and guess who has to pay you? The broker.
Right.
So when this happens to Remax Fine Properties, we're on the hook for the money. Then we have to go back to the agent. But you gotta pay it within like 10 days, right? You gotta pay it like within 10 days, or the brokerage gets sanctioned, right? So imagine if Sandy and I elect not to pay, Armless would call us and say, all 300 of your agents don't have MLS access now because of this pending litigation.
Really?
It's, oh
That's
yeah,
how severe the
The-
action is?
pretty severe, right? Have you ever had to, you've never had to go that far, have you? Yeah.
But
Because
that's
remember,
their-
you guys are all customers in
That's
there
their
too.
recourse, they can lock out every single agent?
It's a privilege. Go ahead, Tim.
Wow.
Yeah, just like all, thank you for coming, just like all of our agents have to be a member of a board.
Right.
Yeah, there's no way around that.
What they will tell you, and there's two schools of thought. The old school of thought is never, ever, ever do anything with a client until you have that agency that protects you. But the other school of thought.
Oh, do you have a
is
signed
100%.
agency?
No, and I bet most people that take people out don't.
You're right.
No, they don't.
But you know,
And it was my mistake after the first day, but things were tense. I'm telling you, this woman tried, I mean, I could tell you all the stories, it was insane.
right, Tammy, how
But-
important is the
I want
agency in
those
this?
stories.
Because the very first
They
conversation.
move on and they go and do something with someone else, but you still had agency from that first deal that didn't go through. How,
Your
that's,
understanding is you still have a relationship.
you still have an agency
And you've
relationship.
explained the relationship with them.
Okay.
That's what agency is you've explained the relationship, you're now married.
So what's the difference between that and a buyer broker then?
A big difference.
Yeah, huge. They don't like buyer brokers.
Well,
They don't. Well, the only reason I know that is because I was forced with every client I ran into when I was on Jen Wayner's team. You had to put that in front of them. You had to get them to sign.
okay, all right, so here's the
I've never
difference.
done a
A
deal
buyer
without a
broker
buyer.
employment agreement is the opposite of the listing agreement, so it joins you at the hip.
Right.
An agency just explains in what capacity you're working with them on. Meaning, if I show you a house that's not a RE/MAX Fine Properties house, I can be 100% buyer agency. If you look at one of RE/MAX Fine Properties' 300 listings, there's a thing called dual agency.
Yeah.
So even though maybe I've never been in the house and it's listed with Jay, our broker's a dual agent. So if you purchase one of those, it's a dual agency. So buyer broker employment agreement joins you at the hip. It takes that buyer out of the market and puts it in Scott's hopper, right? An agency relationship just explains how you're gonna act when you show a house. Is that right?
But it also says that they're going to pay you X amount of percentage.
Yep.
On
I wasn't
buyer
getting it.
broker.
He wanted to just
Oh.
know the difference between the two.
But that's a big difference too. It's like no matter what, you're going to pay me X amount of money.
When they find something,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, the reason I asked it, I've never done a deal without a buyer broker, so.
Good.
It's smarter.
Yeah, I mean,
More power
in
to
your
you.
buyer broker employment agreement, you can charge also a retainer.
Yep.
You could say, write me a check for $1,000.
Yep.
Oh, it says right on the form.
Right on the form, right? Somebody just had one signed at 3.5%. It's Kim Earnhardt.
She did.
She did.
I can see that.
Yeah, she had the buyer sign that you'll pay me 3.5%. So it's whatever's amount offered in the MLS, you'll make up the difference, and it's 3.5%. The lady signed it.
What was the sale price?
We don't know yet. It's a buyer broker employment
Oh,
agreement. Yeah.
Wow.
Did I get all that right?
Ballsy.
I always like to, because I'm not an instructor or anything. All right, okay. Now we're gonna, yeah.
So I had a situation this week, not probably as much as yours, but so, we had a buyer on some land, went to showroom, he wants to buy it, rewrites the contract. Meanwhile, he goes back to walk the land, talks to the neighbor. Neighbor now decides that they want to buy the land. They go to the owner and decide to work out a deal. So there's, the listing agent who has a listing for over 2 years. They just kind of went by her too. And then they came up with an agreement. I mean, is there any protection over?
So,
any
none,
of that?
none, because you didn't represent the neighbor. There's nothing you can do with the buyer other than the old philosophy that loose lips sink ships is true. Completely. So here's a deal where the buyer, as part of their due diligence on this parcel that Jules showed them, says, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go out and meet the neighbors. What's wrong with that? She door knocks the neighbor next to the parcel and says, hey, we're thinking about buying this, we're gonna build that, right? Oh, yeah. And then the neighbor goes, oh shit, somebody's gonna buy it. So they contact the landowner directly or the agent and buy it right out from under the buyer. Does Jules have any recourse on that? No, it's a free market, right? Nothing you can do about that. It's the same thing as when I'm out with a buyer a lot of times and they add, there are kids in the neighborhood. Go, well, I see some basketball hoops, but let's find out. Thinking about buying a house next door. What do you think about, right? Across the street, right? I introduce them, right? So I'm out there, you know, doing my thing, but they can also do that on their own. Same difference is, oh shit, I was gonna put mom in that house, right? When you hit one of the neighbors, I better go do it now. Call the listing agent directly, ink the deal, you're done. So there's nothing, unfortunately nothing there. But the buyer should have learned something, and you still have a relationship with that buyer, so hopefully you're gonna eventually be able to sell them something.
Yeah, but it just,
Sucks. We get a lot of setbacks in this business, and anybody knows, anytime any of you have interviewed with me, you guys know I try to talk you out of the business as much as I try to talk you into it. Amanda,
Yeah,
how hard did I tell you it was gonna be?
really hard, and it was harder.
I know, I can't explain it enough. Now,
fucking hard.
it is hard. It's a bitch.
And people just think they're gonna walk in and make money hand
They
over
do.
fist. Yeah.
Yeah, because they just see us out to lunch and playing golf and having
It's
fun.
money.
No, there's a reason why we can make so much money, and there's a reason why we can make no money. And you're competing with some really good competition. Now, the other side of that is, I believe it's the last capitalistic, pure capitalist profession that's available. It's endless, the opportunities. But you gotta be a self-starter, you gotta lead generate, you gotta be a good presenter, you can't, right when you think you're saying the right thing, you're saying the wrong thing. I was up against an interview recently on a top producer. It was an expired listing. And the guy asked me, who will be showing the house? And I said, well, it will always be either me or my co-lister here. And he said, great, you're hired. Wonderful, ink the deal. And I'm like, so what happened with Agent B? And he said that the agent said, who will be showing my house? And that agent looked at him and said, my assistant will be all over this. And he lost the deal just by saying that.
That had to be blown.
I won't go there.
Oh, come on.
I can. But listen, people want engagement, right? That's why I'm really careful, because occasionally they hear that I also own the franchise, so they want to know how much of my commitment's going to be in their house versus classes, you know, running to other locations, ADRE complaints, you know, all the stuff that we got juggling, right? How much of mine? So then I have to remind them that my bar graph selling houses is this much, and owning the firm is this much, right? Because that's a fact, right? So I got to tell them the bar graph of my interest monetarily. What are the chances with Amanda winning something?
I'm not sure you're gonna get 3, but you'll be offered something.
So is your opinion she should settle?
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to just be reimbursed like $1,000, honestly.
I'd go more than 1,000.
Yeah.
I was happy to not enter into a transaction with
Probably
these people with my small
Sort of
blessing.
like-
Yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't have to do anything with that.
They'll probably start with half,
Okay, and that sounds
and then
fantastic.
you, just like negotiating a house, and you can go back and say, I feel more comfortable. Thank you for that offer, but I feel more
But you're
comfortable
right,
with 2,
okay,
or 2.5.
okay.
All right, let's
So
talk
I give
about,
all that stuff to Sandy, is that what you said?
yeah,
Okay.
and then Sandy delivers it to the broker. And don't, even after that dialogue, file a complaint. Get a hearing, it only costs you $500, right?
Yeah.
$500 to win $7,800 is a pretty good bet. I'd take that all day.
I don't know how to do that at all. What is
It'll, yeah.
Okay.
And Sandy's at R4. You caught him when he's a little distracted.
Sure.
He's more optimistic than what he
Let on?
yeah. And so I would think that you have still a pretty good chance. Remember to get that agency, guys. This is a good learning lesson even
Yeah.
for me, because it does say an agency at your first reasonable availability, go over agency or something like that, right? I think it's important that when they do get in your car, you don't have to take them right into the office and say, sign this, but I think when they get in your car, show them the agency and say, okay, let me tell you how we react at some of these houses. There's one house on the list, it's number 3, that Jay in my office has listed. In that situation, we would be called a dual agent because Jay and I both work for the same firm. I've never seen this house. And in fact, I only see Jay once a month at our sales meetings. There's no conspiracy here. It just happens to be one of our listing, and we have 300 of them. All right? Now, the other 9 houses I'm going to show you are competitors' listings, right? So in that situation, I represent 100% of your interest. I still represent 100% of your interest on Jay's listing here, but the broker represents the buyer and the seller. And therefore, because I'm part of the brokerage, so do I, even though I don't even know these sellers. Is that a decent?
Yeah.
Is that okay? All right. It's funny because I got an authority in the room, so I'm trying to be a little careful. All right. Besides Amanda, did anybody else come in today for a specific reason that you're having trouble with?
You can do this circling, not only phoning, but also like walking the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It should work.
It's even better.
Probably more, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
It's way better.
Because we just had one that got under contract in 4 days, so I could have our whole team go walk that neighborhood and get personal.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a great segue into that. Reverse prospecting. So before the deal, has the deal closed yet?
No.
Okay, before the deal closed, go into reverse prospecting. And all the agents that have a portal that fit your profile, print that list of the agents that have buyers for that and bring that with you on the door knocking. And say, hey, here's a list of all the people that didn't get the house. I can call them on your behalf and maybe even sell it before it hits the market. Right? Does everybody know reverse prospecting? It's hard to get to on the dashboard, but that's huge. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this now, the day that deal closes, that goes away. You can't go back. We didn't know that. You can't go back and get that reverse prospecting deal. It's gone. As soon as the deal closes, it's gone. Now, if you don't have any listings, go to the listing agent that's not doing it and say, hey, I'm going to door knock that area. Can I have the reverse prospecting report? And then you can show them with validity saying, hey, look, here's the people that didn't get the house. We sold it in 4 days, and we have a callback list. If you're thinking about even remotely selling within the next year, it's go time. Like, don't you guys agree it's a great time to sell? Yeah.
Just have to have someone to go.
You got to have somewhere to go.
And if you guys are gonna walk, we have a walking farm app, which basically it's all GPS enabled. It'll open and tell you what's a rental, what's owner occupied. So even if you take a listing and you want to hit the people that are renting in the area, you could, hop doors to those people. But it tells you who the owner is, how long they've been there, basically all the tax record in an app, if you are walking.
So that would be good to know, right? Because then when you hit, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna talk to you after.
Yeah, it's a great thing. So leases and expiration of leases. So that's a concept that we've taught here in lead generation. Sam, I'm gonna let you go with it. See if you can explain it.
Leases?
Leases.
Yes, leases.
No. Explain leases from a lead generation standpoint. Remember I've said...
Yeah, okay. In fact, I just did this. I called the title company and asked them to give me homes that had been on the market, or not on the market, but leased for at least 12 to 24 months. And then let me know all the information in a certain area, my 85 Arcadia zip code. And Troy did that. And so that was a great...
Wait, you can't mention Troy here. You gotta say Jill did that.
Jill did that.
Jill did that. Good job, Jill.
Same list that he's talking about.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And so that was a great lead list.
Right.
And so
because what's going to happen, so here's what I teach. Go back to, okay, so right now we're in the month of February. If you count back 6 months, you would be in August, right? So go into your farm area, anybody that signed a lease in August, so go under class 2, I think is leases, and put signed date August 1st through August 30th, and anything that signed a lease from August 1st to August 30th that is now halfway through their lease, guess what's going to happen in another 6 months? What's going to happen?
They're either gonna release it or buy new property. And the way I'm talking to these people, because the market is where it is and rents are going up, and especially I've got a guy, a VA guy, I said, look, you could get into a house with minimal cost. There's no, you use your VA benefit, you get your first time buyer, blah, 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 blah. He goes, how much would it cost? I said, well, it depends on the price of your home, but what are you paying for rent right now? $1,600 a month.
How much?
16. I said, we can get you your own home where you're not paying anybody else's equity. You're building equity for your family. We're meeting.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's a great way because I can tell you nobody's fishing in that pond. Nobody is fishing in that pond. It is wide open, right? Have you done
I
it?
fished in that pond.
And?
I mailed out stuff to all of them in my farm area, like rent versus buy stuff. Like
Okay,
3
good.
weeks ago, and then I have more stuff to go out. But I didn't think to call them. So I need to get a list for that too.
Right now, you're not gonna get the tenant's name, you're gonna get the landlord's name in
Oh,
that
yeah.
situation, right? But that's okay. But I think the next phase is door knock them on a Saturday or Sunday. And then you go right into a buyer's counseling session, right? How many bedrooms you need, how many baths, do you like this area? You know, how much you paying in rent? You know, have your lender ready. Where if they're paying $1,600, what does that, what's the buying power of $1,600 a month, right? Now, all this stuff for lead generation, guys, takes place. It's not gonna make you money in the first quarter. Open houses can make you money in the first quarter. Your SOI can make you money in the first quarter. But when you get into farming, it all goes in the second, third, and fourth quarter, right? The seeds you sprinkle now are the ones that are gonna pay dividends. All right, I wanna get into the perfect presentation and market evaluation. All right. Yeah.
Just one comment on, you made a comment to her that she's gonna get the landlord's phone numbers?
Yeah, but is that gonna help her much?
Yes.
Oh,
because
okay.
That's a separate project.
Yes.
Your lease is going to be possibly renewing in 6 months. Do you know the value of your home? Do you know what the market has done? What you should consider releasing it at?
Absolutely. Yes. So there's
That's
two
a
leads
separate
there.
project.
Yes. There's two leads there. There's the
Right.
buyer agency lead of the tenant, what are they gonna do in 6 months when their lease expires? And then there's the listing agent side that says, hey, do you realize what the value is? Have you considered a 1031 exchange? Did you know somebody can 1031 exchange out of a rental into a REIT?
Just had that class.
Yeah, it's a great deal. So instead of them having to manage property management, vacancy, planations, etc., they can buy 1/1000th of the Empire State Building and do nothing. Right? You can 1031 exchange out of a lease that you own into a REIT. Right? That's a good income source. Right? Jay, thank you for that. You're right. There's two leads there, not one. There's the landlord. So that getting that information from Jill solidifies. Now, you're going to have to be ready because what if they just want to release it? I would tell them that you can do property management and do that whole, you can alleviate that for them. All right, so I'm going to talk about, thank you, Jay. So I'm going to talk about, I never, when I go on a listing presentation, I never deviate from this. And I'm adding one more subject matter in here that's not, right where it says after marketing and I get into who's who, I'm adding target market. So on my listing presentation now, I am going to share with them who I believe is the target market for their house. Meaning, single level, 2-car garage, no pool. I think the target market for your house is somebody between 50 and 70, right? So I might make a statement like that. So our digital marketing campaign and our any written campaigns that we do are going to target that age group. Okay? So you can make a statement like that, or you could say, I also think it appeals to single, male, female, upwardly mobile, right? So address the target market that you both are on the same track. Because they might say, well, I bought the house as a 30-year-old, And, you know, right? And then you can say, oh, good point, we'll add that, right? So you guys are on the same page. And then the perfect market analysis, so I've spent a lot of time on this, is 3 actives, 3 under contract, 3 pending, 3 solds, and then 3 expireds. The reason why you want to add expireds is because it helps explain the story. If the house failed to sell, it's because the market is $205 a square foot and they were asking $220. So there is a threshold in every house where you can overprice it even in today's market, right? So that's the perfect, and then I explain it in a baseball game. When you get to commissions, I think it's imperative that you start with circling the co-broker. That's why I always bring full MLS printouts. Because when you get to, okay, what are you going to charge, Dell? I show them actives, pendings, under contracts, and solds, and you should have like 12 of them, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%, 2.5%. Market looks like it's 3%. Do you agree? And get confirmation from the seller that it's 3%. Once they agree to that, because if they haven't sold a home for a while, they don't even know. Once they agree to the 3%, you're halfway home. Am I right? Then you just say the marketing fee for me is also 3%. And then the net sheet's really easy. Take the sales price of $1, subtract 0.07%, you're going to net 93 cents because you usually have about 1% in closing costs. Generally, right? Unless you're in DC Ranch where you got, right? So there's some real simple concepts. I can get ready for a listing appointment in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Because I have all this stuff down here, right? And then I'll go, so 6%, 1% closing costs, right? And then I'll go, if I find the buyer without another licensed agent involved, I'll do it for 5. And if the buyer comes right off the sign, I'll do it for 4. Buyer comes right, so if I find the buyer 5, if the buyer comes right off the sign, 4, and then iBuyer program, I'll do it for 2.5 or 3. You can go 6, 5, 4, 3. If I sell it pre-MLS to the iBuyer program and there's not a buyer's agent involved, I'll do it for 3.
How do you do that?
How do you do that? We've identified 16 iBuyers, and we shop it to the iBuyers during that gap between listing and photography.
Oh.
So I order a coming soon sign immediately, so we can go hopefully here. And then once they sign the listing between this and photography, I send it to the 16 iBuyer programs that we've identified, and I've sent that to you guys before. Does everybody have it? And Jen's not here. Jill, can you tell Jen to send everybody in the class the 16 iBuyers that we've identified? Now, you're looking puzzled. Go ahead. Yeah, you are. Are you? Okay. In the 16 iBuyer programs that we've identified, it's imperative once you start talking about iBuyers that you leave with the exclusive right. Because as soon as you leave, who are they going to call? The iBuyer. So you don't leave them the list. You tell them that I can shop wholesale and retail, and I can tell you after the experience that highly likely you left $20,000 to $50,000 on the market by doing an iBuyer program for the small convenience of maybe 5 showings, putting your dog in a kennel, turning all the lights, and getting your windows washed. I think it's worth it. Right? Wholesale, retail, you got to explain that. We don't get that a lot up in this marketplace, but down south, around the 202, right in that area, you get spanked on iBuyer.
Well, and I think it's not going away, so
It's not
we have
going
to
But how-
embrace it, and I think
Why
it's
not?
gonna probably come creeping into this market up here a little bit more than we.
Zilla's trying to creep into this market.
Yeah, but if we're doing our listing presentation right, they know that you got all the bases covered, right? So if they believe in you and you got their respect and trust, there's no reason why they wouldn't put that in your hands.
I I think part of the problem is they're just skipping right over us.
Yeah, we're not getting a
We're
shot.
not even getting the shot.
You're gonna get the at-bat.
Yes and no, because I've heard that we've
That
gotten.
just happened to me where a guy I've known for years, the guy just did that, it was easier and I on Paydex. Brought that up last time,
Yeah.
I thought about this one, I'm like,
But you never got in front of him. So all right.
no, I did, he goes, I
That's-
just did it, it was a convenience, it was easy, it was 3%, he said.
All right, so this is a couple of things that I put in place for 2020. I've explained this to you guys. I've lost about 5 relocation deals in about the last year and a half from the club that I belong to, because there's a lot of American Express, Discover, people that get relocated. And now I'm telling them, as I see them in the gym or on the golf course, saying, hey, listen, I'm not wishing a move on anybody, but if it does come up, I am relocation approved. Every relocation company that you can think of will use my services. They'll try to get their own people involved, but I'm a relocation expert and you can't put me in the game. Just tell them you already have somebody. Because they always try to get their people involved. So have those conversations now with those people that are in corporate America and plant that seed now. If you take those 5 deals, it's an unbelievable amount of money because the relocation coordinator just says, no, we have the 3 people that are already approved, we're using them. When they can say, no, I already got a guy, he's a member of the club, and he meets all the specifications, because I do. Right? And a lot of people in this room do. But then I'll see them out and they're like, oh yeah, I got relocated. We're leaving next week to Atlanta. My house is done on the market. They sent me 3 people. I thought about you. Dagger, right? Because the relocation company says, what do they tell them, Jay? You can't go out of the model. Is that true?
Well, if they have a strong backbone, they'll push back.
Yeah, but is that true that you can't go out of the model? No, they can put their own people in place. Right? And then the segue that led me to that was the iBuyer program. So what you want to do with that, Scott, is take that as a learning lesson and get that out to your buyers saying that, hey, I can offer you the iBuyer program, and then also at the end of that, at the end of the sale, I'll tell you how much money you left on the table. Because it's highly likely it's going to have a big comment in it.
What I thought was interesting is that he denoted how little it cost him, and I'm like,
You
that's not what I've heard. I didn't say anything because it's no good now, but I mean, I heard it's upwards of 12 and 14%.
It is. It is.
Well, if you didn't convey that, if you said to somebody, hey, look, do you want 12%?
You got to break down hard cost versus opportunity cost. Because the hard cost was the 3%. The opportunity loss that he had was the other 12 that you're referring to in lower sale value.
Correct, in lower sale value. But I mean, are they only charging